As I've been like fucked up since last night. That second shot really fucked me up again.
Yeah, you got the second jab, huh?
Yeah.
Feeling like shit, huh? So
Yeah.
I need to get you some ivermectin.
Where do you even get that?
Apparently, people have been taking the animal version of it for horses, like as a dewormer. I know there's a prescription version.
Prescription version.
Yeah, they used it to treat something back in the day whenever they released it. I don't remember what it was. We talked about it a couple episodes ago. Let's see. What was ivermectin originally used for?
I have a bunch of bookmarks to show too, just pictures of shit throughout these articles. These articles had some weird stuff in it that I just skipped over. I just took the helpful nuggets that seemed to check off factually.
Okay, cool. It was originally introduced as a veterinary drug. Man, this fucking paper's way too much. I read all this shit. You used to treat something called onchocerciasis. I can't say that word. ONCHOCERCIASIS.
That's a little bit beyond. That's a little bit beyond my pay grade today.
Yeah, me too. Well, I hope you start feeling better from that fucking shot, man. It sucks.
Yeah, fucking stupid.
I didn't really get much of a reaction from it.
Maybe I'm just maybe I have weak genes.
I think maybe it has to do with your blood type or something.
I'm a fighter, so my body's always trying to resist outside forces. It's in my nature. I'm a warrior.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I guess I'm passive, so it just went through me. I just dealt with it.
Yeah. What's your sign? What are you?
Sagittarius.
Oh, that's okay. That's why. Yeah, a lot of Sagittarius. They don't feel it's a thing. Where's your moon at?
I have no idea. I don't know that kind of information.
I'm from some really badass astrological reading I took a while back. I'm a mountain goat, Sun Capricorn. Yeah, mountain goat.
Some people really follow that shit hardcore, man.
Studying all this ancient stuff, I feel like there's something to it, but I definitely am not following it like from the New York Times or some daily horoscope shit.
There's this chick that Tiffany follows on TikTok or some shit, and she's like an astrology chick, and she's been making predictions about like the pandemic and shit since the beginning of it.
Really? She right?
Yeah, like Tiffany will tell she'll like she's been telling me like 8 months ago she told me like, all right, well, it's gonna get better for a little while, we're gonna kind of go back to normal for a little bit, and then it's gonna come back even worse about midsummer next year. And yeah, sure enough, that's what fucking happened.
Interesting. My first reaction is like,
we're gonna have to go into lockdown and stuff. Yeah, my first reaction was like, it's bullshit. Like, this bitch is guessing. Just getting a bunch of guesses right.
No, not that. My first reaction was conspiracy theorists were saying the same thing. So it's interesting that somebody who's just referring to an astrological chart is coming up with the same things.
Yeah,
it's kind of an interesting coincidence.
Conspiracy theorists were saying that we were gonna open up for a little bit and then get locked down again.
More or less, it was just a pattern that people knew like it would get better, and they're going to do another lockdown. They're going to release because they don't want to open it up. They want to keep it locked down. Just the same kind of prediction. But
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. That's what I've been saying. Like this is coming back. They're not trying to. Anyway. So let's let's do it, man.
Dig into it. Where you want to start with the Agharta, the subterranean world one, or underground cities?
Agharta, the subterranean world one. I have my notes in that order.
Okay, sweet.
Well, not really notes, just highlights. I can't word this stuff better, so I'm just gonna look at it and show stuff.
Comment on the.
I mean, it takes a shitload of time to like paraphrase everything and then study it so you can talk about it like you discovered it. So,
Yeah, well, we're just
What
kind
am I
of
doing?
reading through the text that this guy had wrote back in the. When did he write this? Like in the 50s or 60s?
Yeah,
So
maybe the 80s. Basically, so I mean, we talked about Agharta in the last episode, Hollow Earth, but that Hollow Earth is an umbrella for a lot of different ones. But Agharta is the motherfucker, the main one. So the word Agharta is of a Buddhist origin, refers to subterranean world or empire, in whose existence all true Buddhists believe. They believe that the subterranean world has millions of inhabitants and cities under domination of the subterranean world capital Shambhala, where dwells the supreme ruler of the empire, known in the Orient as the King of the World. That's kind of biblical, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Kind of makes me wonder.
Yeah, it is kind of biblical.
And it's believed that he gave his orders to the Dalai Lama of Tibet, who was his terrestrial representative, his messages being transmitted through certain secret tunnels connecting the subterranean world of Tibet. I never knew that about the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, that we had talked about that last week. That was, he had gotten some messages from this ancient civilization that lives in the Hollow Earth. These tunnels they're talking about. So I went to like do some digging just to see like, all right, are there tunnels and shit in Brazil? And have you seen these? Share my screen for a second. There's apparently hundreds of these.
Yeah, I was looking at that. We might have the same article.
On paleo burrows. They think that they're saying that they were dug by this giant ground sloth, or they're just kind of, they don't really know what dug it, but they say there's claw marks on the walls, and they're so, the tunnels are so old. Oh yeah, there's 1,500 of these. They say that the tunnels are so old that
1,500 tunnels or locations of tunnels.
Tunnels.
Okay, that's a lot of tunnels, man. Is that one of them right into the ground?
Yep.
It looks like a trap from Jungle Cruise or something.
They think that these might have been giant armadillos or giant sloths. There's no animal that's this large today that could do this. But it just kind of makes you wonder. It's like maybe it wasn't an animal.
My ex-girlfriend could do that to get to Popeyes before they close, but that's it.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Where's that at? Brazil?
It's in Brazil. They're all over the place in Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah, the tunnels are so old. The humans at that time didn't have iron or any way to like create shovels or anything like that to dig these tunnels. So yeah, that's why they think it's an animal. But
I mean, this book article we read actually goes so far as to claim that they used like huge boring tools. I mean, they just go out and say it. They're like, these are aliens that use boring tools. It's like, okay, yeah. I'm gonna skip this part.
Which part?
That it was aliens that used boring tools. Like, I don't want to put that in my notes. Like, it was aliens. Interesting.
No, they think it was Atlanteans.
Yeah, Atlanteans and all that. I mean, I'm down with that, but
this article that we're reading from is like their idea is that Atlanteans had amazing technology at the time, but their technology surpassed their morals, so they had this nuclear war, and then they fled.
That's it. That's the part that throws me off.
Yeah, and they fled inside the Earth to escape the radioactive fallout, and the radioactive fallout caused the climate to shift and change. And they were just trying to escape all of that.
Because
and so that's why they think that this subterranean race are the descendants of Atlanteans who have superior technology. But then they talk about how they're superhuman too, and they live for hundreds of years, and they're perfect continents, so that they only have enough energy to everything's in perfect harmony and balance. So super intelligent. They're fruitarians, so apparently they don't eat any meat or anything like that. All right, all of those claims make me go,
Yeah, how do you know? I mean, that must be...
It's being said with such certainty in the book. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, it must be like a strong inference from some ancient text, like an interpretation. But there's no way. I mean, if anybody knew that for a fact. Yeah. But to push back on the Atlantean nuclear war, I'm with Randall Carlson and that whole comet impact catastrophe theory, all the flooding and how it dates back and get into the pyramids and the waterware.
Maybe there was an ancient civilization that fled inside the Earth to escape like a cosmological event like that.
Absolutely. And there's nothing to say they didn't have both. Maybe like shit hit the fan in nature and they were bombing people.
Yeah, I mean it's but no one knows for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be cool like if someone funded a real exploration into like these places that they're talking about have entrances to the hollow earth, right?
Yeah.
Tibet or Brazil seems to be really interesting.
Yeah, it says the Brazil in the west and Tibet in the east seem to be the two parts of the earth where the underground tunnels connect. Contact between the subterranean world and the surface may be most easily achieved.
Yeah, they also think that there are similar tunnels like at the base of the Pyramid of Giza. And that's why when the pharaohs are talking about being in contact with gods of the underworld, that maybe is a little bit more literal whenever you start to aspect.
Yeah, I mean, the Dalai Lama's New York Times bestseller book, The Art of Happiness, didn't mention anything about meeting up with subterranean terrestrials.
Yeah, but this guy is saying that he did with certainty. Anyway, carry on.
So, the famous Russian artist, philosopher, and explorer Nicholas Roerich, who traveled extensively in the Far East, claimed that Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, was connected by a tunnel with Shambhala, capital of the subterranean empire of Agharta. The entrance of this tunnel was guarded by lamas who were sworn to keep its actual whereabouts secret, ordered by the Dalai Lama. Similar tunnel was believed to connect chambers at the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza with the subterranean world, which there are tunnels there, by which the pharaohs established contact with the gods. The various gigantic statues of early Egyptian gods and kings, as those of Buddha found throughout the Orient, represent subterranean supermen who came to the surface to help the human race. I mean, I can't disagree with that.
Well, when you look at like the art, the ancient carvings and the paintings and stuff from like ancient civilizations, we talked about that last week. They all depict like this being bestowing something to them, like kind of in the form of a handbag, right?
Yeah.
Thought of to represent the knowledge that they're bestowing.
Like Quetzalcoatl. He fucking taught him how to
pops up a lot in this article.
Grow corn, but the Dalai Lamas, the lamas protecting the cave, there's a tribe that comes up in this article, and they're out there in Brazil, and they're supposed to be protecting their underground tunnels, and like you can't even go there because they'll just kill you. It's not like a tourist attraction. Like if you want to go and explore these tunnels and find them, kiss your family goodbye.
Go with the fucking machine gun and like a Jeep with a 50 cal on top of it, and I think we'll make it to it.
Hey, pause.
Fund it. All right.
Pause here. Oh wait, give it a couple minutes. I have to watch this Uber Eats order coming, but she's at the left light over there.
All right.
So I'm skipping a paragraph to the bottom of the first page. The subterranean civilization of Agharta is believed to represent a continuation of Atlantean civilization, which you said. They represent descendants of the lost continent of Lemuria and Atlantis, as well as the original perfect race of Hyperboreans. I read a book on Lemuria and Atlantis, and that book proposed that Lemuria was on the west coast of America because it's got the oldest bio fucking plant life and rocks, the oldest in the world.
West Coast, really?
Yeah, up
the East Coast would have older, because that's the Appalachian Mountain. That's more of an ancient mountain chain and shit. And in Lemuria, that was theorized by some guy in like the 1860s, I believe, who came up with that theory. And
maybe it's wrong, but
no, you might be right, but I don't. Like, was that all the theories about that continent?
It's been
on the West Coast, or is it just one theory you read?
It was been a while since I read the book, but that was one theory. I think it was a Rosicrucian.
Which paragraph is that in?
That's at the last. Wait. Lemuria, what I just said. That's the first sentence of the last paragraph on the first page.
Yeah, I don't see that. I'm in a different spot then. I don't see that on mine.
Agharta, subterranean world.
Yeah.
First sentence of the last paragraph, first page.
Mine says the subterranean civilization of Agharta is believed to represent a continuation of the civilization, which having learned the lesson of the futility of war, remained in a state of peace ever since.
My brain's not working. Not that one. It's on the second page, the second paragraph. So stupid.
Got it. I didn't want to be lost with where you were at. I see Lemuria and Atlantis.
Yeah.
Hyperboreans. So I looked up what that was too, and we talked about this a little bit last week, I think, as well. But when you look at the dictionary, it just says an inhabitant of the extreme north, or in Greek mythology, a member of a race worshipping Apollo and living in a land of sunshine and plenty beyond the north wind.
North wind.
We talked about how one of the thoughts is that the opening to the hollow earth is beyond the North Pole and beyond the South Pole. So it's interesting that the Greeks have a word for that. And anyway, carry on. You gotta get your food.
Yeah, she's pulling up.
We'll do it.
I'm just gonna it won't take long. I'm just gonna go grab it from her. I'm not gonna eat right now. 16:58. Okay. So next is the Indian epic of Ramayana. And I have that shared, just the Wikipedia, just for the pictures. But apparently he flew here on a craft, which I Googled and I couldn't necessarily find any paintings.
I tried to
show him on a craft.
That as well. So I don't know where he's getting that info from.
So fucking... He was in a mystery from Agharta. What is an emissary? Like a messenger?
A what?
Emissary. E-M-I-S-S-A-R-I. from Agharta coming on an aerial vehicle, which was probably a flying saucer. Chinese tradition speaks of divine teachers coming on aerial vehicles. This is true. I've seen this before. Founder of the Inca dynasty, Manco Capac, came the same way.
Did you look up that? That checked out?
Manco Capac's a real guy. I couldn't find necessarily a picture or a reference to aircraft, but I like this picture, looking at the sun.
Nice. Yeah, I couldn't find anything. Like, I'm trying to cross-reference like what this guy's saying.
Yeah,
but some of this stuff I could not verify. But he's just kind of saying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like with certainty.
Yeah. He was born in Tampatoco.
And I think he spelled it wrong too.
But he founded Cusco, which is a popular place. But the thing about... Hold on. A legend. He and his brother and sisters lived near Cusco. They united their people with tribes. Nothing there.
Yeah, see. You'd think that would be kind of an important part of the legend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't trust the Wikipedia to talk about that stuff, if I'm being honest. Maybe it would. One of the greatest...
In T legend, Manco Capac and his siblings were sent up to the earth by the sun god and emerged from the cave of Pacaratambo carrying a golden staff.
There we go.
Instructed to create a temple of the sun in the spot where the staff sank into the earth. They traveled to Cusco via caves and there built a temple in honor of their father, Inti. There you go. So that's a little hollow earthish right there. It doesn't talk about anything about a craft that he...
Yeah. He just said it was probably a flying saucer, but a lot of these ancient deities did come from the sky, and that can still fit into hollow earth because when you go north, you run into miles and miles and miles of deadly ice and snow. And it's not until you pass that, according to hollow earth, that it turns back warm. So it makes a lot of sense that they would use some kind of flying mechanism, if it's the case, to reach this part of the earth because they have to get over the ice. And if you fly over the ice, just fly all the way there.
Right.
So to them is like coming from the sky, but how it maybe came from the center of the earth.
So this guy thinks that they had super advanced UFOs that are what we're seeing in modern times. Like the Tic Tacs and shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be government technology though, man.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think the release of, or the them saying that it's UFOs or maybe from another planet, that's them covering shit up. They just don't want us to know that they have that stuff.
Yeah. Maybe. I hope not. I hope it's from another planet. That would be way better.
Too. That's really cool, but I think the government's just covering shit up, and they're trying to misdirect us with this recent attention on UFOs.
So there's Quetzalcoatl, which we mentioned briefly in last episode. Quetzalcoatl is described as having been a man of good appearance and grave countenance, with a white skin and beard, and dressed in a long flowing white garment. Now, any pictures I find of Quetzalcoatl is straight up a dragon. And he doesn't have fair skin. But these are like those... Remember that appendix we found?
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy shit. Yeah, so he's got pretty bad skin, actually.
It's real scaly, man. He needs to do something about that.
He was also called a Huaymac because of his great goodness and continence. He taught the Indians the way of virtue, tried to save them from vice by giving them laws and counsel. Basically the stuff that it appears Göbekli Tepe took part in, which was like an academy, a transfer of knowledge, as they say. which is super interesting. He taught pacifism and condemned violence, instituted a vegetarian diet. Corn was the principal food. Taught fasting and body hygiene. He was a spiritual teacher of the inhabitants of Brazil, according to Harold Wilkins, according to this article. But he was with them for a while, the Indians, and then they started to not care, so he left. Departed, telling them someday he would return. That this visitor from heaven left the same way in which he came on a flying saucer is indicated by the following facts. When Cortez invaded Mexico, the Emperor Montezuma believed that the predicted return of Quetzalcoatl had occurred because a fireball had gyrated over Mexico City. I don't think that's fact, but...
Yeah, neither. But it's a good story.
Yeah.
And they believe the fireball was a flying saucer that he traveled on.
Yeah. Osiris was another...
Osiris. Yep.
I don't have much on this, but it just comes up right here. He was another subterranean god. They were the rulers. The ancients were the rulers. The gods of the ancients were the rulers of Atlantis. See, have you heard of the Rikat structure?
No.
Look up some videos about this. It's in East Africa.
What's it called?
The Rikat structure. It matches all the dimensions and location and descriptions of Atlantis, even down to the red in the dirt. And it's got 3 big concentric rings. It's got the mountains to the northwest where the water flooded over and destroyed this area to the ocean in the east, just like the old tale is from Plato. And there's like actual flood patterns that show that happened. But this RICHAT structure.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at images of it right now.
You want to pull it up? So this is what I think of when they say Atlantis was subterranean. I think of the Rikat structure, and I don't know about that.
Yeah, because are they saying that this could have been the lost city of Atlantis?
Yeah, there's some in-depth videos. There's this one guy, I don't want to shout out his channel. I think it's the guy that's fucking Randall Carlson, and he's such a fucking dork in his videos. But, you know, yeah. That looks like they added water CGI or something.
Yeah, they did. But that's pretty wild.
Yeah. And in East Africa as well, or West Africa, you know, where cradle of civilization and the pyramids and all that was.
Shit. Imagine if that's what it really looked like. Man. That's really interesting. I gotta go look into this.
Yeah, the Rikat structures is a little crazy,
a little trippy.
Yeah,
maybe this Hollow Earth shit is wrong.
Maybe.
Well, no, so Atlantis wasn't inside of Earth. It was they escaped Atlantis from catastrophe. Remember? So
yeah,
still tracks.
Yeah, and they would have went east away from the catastrophe and built the pyramids. I don't know, but maybe those were already there. I don't know.
Well, apparently a bunch of Atlanteans went to Brazil.
Hey.
And there's talk that there's Atlantean cities hidden in the jungles of the Amazon in Brazil. That's where the El Dorado comes from.
LiDAR is finding lots of underground monuments all across Brazil.
Brazil's got some wild shit going on there.
Yeah, you know, it's botanically considered a garden because it's such diverse wildlife and it's all specific to certain needs and things like that. It's not like random stuff. It's like vanilla beans and, you know, I'm kind of making shit up, but it's like a bunch of very specific exotic food plants and spices and things you can make things with. Ayahuasca, like cherry trees. So whatever, like I heard at one point it's botanically a garden. It's not like really a jungle of random shit.
What makes it a garden versus a jungle?
I think a jungle, I think there's like a ratio of specific fruits and herbs and spices or specific plants that don't necessarily grow wild. If you have a high enough ratio, then it's technically a garden. Right, because you have like your weeds.
Brazil was a garden planted by the Atlanteans.
Yeah, and then it just grew out of control, and all the stuff growing covered all the ancient monuments that they're finding with LiDAR now, like cities and pyramids and stuff. But Bulwer Lytton, this politician from like 1890, he's the guy that said the pen is mightier than the sword, and a couple other. Yeah, he's that guy. Yeah, look right here. Let me share this. Pen is mightier than the sword. Dweller on the threshold, almighty pursuit of the almighty dollar, and the opening phrase, it was a dark and stormy night. That's what he coined. English writer and politician. But he wrote a book. I guess the only credibility I can give this claim is that he was a politician and a writer, but he wrote a book called The Coming Race, which describes a subterranean civilization in advance of our own, and existed in a large cavity in the earth connected by the surface by a tunnel. I
didn't look up this author, but yeah.
So that's interesting. It's claimed that the earth's crust is honeycombed by a network of tunnels passing under the ocean. It's all the different continents. They're abundant in South America, especially in Brazil.
Which was the chief center of Atlantean colonization.
Yes. Here I have a picture of what it's talking about next, the Inca Road.
Yeah, so I pulled that up as well. And let's just read from the article. It says, most famous of these tunnels is the roadway of the Incas, which stretches for several hundred miles south of Lima, Peru, and passes under Cusco, Tiwanaku, and the Three Peaks, proceeding to the Atacambo Desert. Another branch opens up in Chile, visited by Madame Blavatsky.
Yeah, so that road runs here. And then here's a picture of Cusco, just for visual reference. It's a pretty place.
All right, and it says, it is claimed that the Incas used these tunnels to escape from the Spanish conquerors and the Inquisition, when entire armies entered them, carrying with them their gold and treasures on the backs of llamas, which they did when the Spanish conquerors first came. Their mysterious disappearance at this time, leaving only the race of Quaca Indians behind, is also explained by their entering these tunnels. It is claimed that when the last of the Inca kings was brutally murdered, the gold was being carried to his ransom on a train of 11,000 pack llamas, and they found refuge in these tunnels. And blah, blah, blah. It claims these tunnels had artificial lighting and were built by the race that had constructed Tiwanaku long before the first Inca appeared in Peru. So, all right, so I looked up the roadway of the Incas, and I was like, all right, that's a pretty legit story. Like, if they really did use tunnels to escape Spanish conquerors and the Inquisition. I couldn't find anything about that, though. Did you?
No.
Like, I looked up in this article that you have pulled up here specifically, like, just searching for tunnels, and they do talk about tunnels in it, but not in this capacity.
It doesn't seem like something that would be easy to find. That seems like something governments and academic factions would keep squashed. Because
what would be the motivation behind them hiding?
I subscribe to not letting people know the truth about their history. Like, I don't know. It's just never talked about.
Yeah.
That's if it's there and they're not writing about it. I mean, this stuff seems to be prevalent enough everywhere you look that it's probably true. It doesn't seem like a ridiculous claim of Atlanteans having a nuclear war and shit. And then there's the Andes, the third one. Apparently there's tunnels all under here. But there's definitely caves. We know caves exist. It's just how far do they go?
Exactly, yeah.
How far do they go?
I was going to see if I could find anything.
The most famous is in the Roncador Mountains of northeast Mato Grosso, to where Colonel Fawcett was heading when last seen. Yeah, was this true?
Yeah. Colonel Fawcett was a super legit explorer. Shit, let me pull up the article that I have on him.
Okay.
I have it somewhere in here. Here we go.
You want to show it?
Yeah, we can read through it real quick. All right, so Colonel Percy Fawcett was most famous for his half-dozen map-making expeditions in the wilds of Amazon, a place he called the last great blank space in the world. Beginning in 1906, he'd ventured into previously uncharted territory in Brazil and Bolivia, where he dodged poisonous pit vipers and made contact with hostile native tribes. His exploits grabbed headlines around the world and won him a prestigious medal from the Royal Geographical Society. They even inspired Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to write the 1912 novel The Lost World. Let's see. As years passed, he became increasingly obsessed with seeking out his modern-day El Dorado, which he dubbed the City of Z. He launched 2 searches for it in the early 1920s, but was driven out of the jungle on both occasions by poor weather, fever, and exhaustion. It took more than 3 years of campaigning before he finally secured funding for a 3rd mission. And then despite warnings that he was taking off on a fool's errand, he remained convinced that Z was lurking somewhere in the unexplored Mato Grosso region of Brazil, which this article that we're reading from references. He went with his son Jack, who shared the same Z story. They got there on April 20th, 1925 and ventured into the jungle. Basically made their way about 10 to 15 miles a day, and then at some point they reached this dead horse camp where he had been forced to shoot his spent horse and call it quits on one of their earlier searches there. They unloaded their equipment and guides and sent their guides back to Cuaba. And before the natives left, he handed over the last of the expedition's dispatches, which included a letter to his wife Nina saying, "Jack is well and fit and getting stronger every day. You need to have no fear of any failure." That was the last they heard of him.
Damn.
So and then there's they had a bunch of theories about what could have happened. They even sent expeditions in looking for him. They claimed he perished, but no one ever found bodies or anything like that. So yeah, it's a mystery as far as what happened to him. They never, even I think up in the 90s. Yeah, and as recently as 96, a team of Fawcett hunters led by a wealthy businessman named James Lynch went and searched for him, and they were captured by Amazonian Indians and held for ransom. And they had to give up like 30 grand of equipment to get out.
Damn. But, this article mentions the Muscugo Indians. What was the name of them? Marquego Indians, dark-skinned, undersized race of great physical strength, and that's who I mentioned earlier in the jungle where they guard their tunnels. Their sense of smell, according to what I'm reading here, which is a letter to the author from an American named Carl Hooney, who lived many years in Mato Grosso and made a special study of the subject. He said the entrance is guarded by the Marquego Indians. Their sense of... What's up?
This article doesn't make mention of those Indians.
Well, hey, believe it if you want. Double check it. I'm just aggregating information I found searching this. And sure. This is the best thing. Unless I go read an actual Tibetan Buddhist book from like the 1300s.
Which I'm not going to do.
Yeah, I don't know how to... or watch a bunch of documentaries, but they all say the same stuff. Just stuff. Their sense of smell is better than a bloodhound. Even if they approve of you and let you enter the caverns, I'm afraid you will be lost to the present world. They protect it very secretly. And then it mentions the story of the guy you just said. They go out at night into surrounding jungles. They have no contact with subterranean dwellers. They form a self-contained community and have a big population. It's believed that the subterranean cities they inhabit were first constructed by the Atlanteans, again. The name of the mountain range where the Atlantean subterranean cities exist is Arrancador in northeast Mato Grosso. If you go in quest of these subterranean cities, take your life in your own hands. You may never be heard of again, like Colonel Fawcett. And he says, when I was in Brazil, heard a lot about the underground caverns and subterranean cities, but they are a long way from Cuba. They are near the Rio Araguaia, which empties into the Amazon. Northeast of the Cueva at the foot of the tremendously long mountain range named Roncador. There are also caverns in Asia, and Tibetan travelers mention them. In Brazil, the biggest ones exist at 3 different levels. And then concerning Agharta, Professor Henrique J. de Souza, president of the Brazilian Theosophical Society and a leading authority on the subterranean world, published an article, Does Shangri-La Exist? It's kind of long. You want to help me read some of this stuff?
Where are you at again on here?
I'm in the first article on page 5 at the bottom where it's quotes.
Among all races of mankind, back to the dawn of time, there existed a tradition concerning the existence of a sacred land or terrestrial paradise where the highest ideals of humanity were living realities. This concept is found in the most ancient writings and traditions of the peoples of Europe, Asia Minor, China, India, Egypt, and the Americas. This sacred land, it is said, can be known only to persons who are worthy, pure, and innocent, for which reason it constitutes the central theme of the dreams of childhood. The road that leads to this blessed land, this invisible world, this esoteric and occult domain, constitutes the central quest and master key of all mystery teachings and systems of the initiation in the past, present, and future. This magic key is the open sesame that unlocks the door to a new and marvelous world. The old Rosicrucians, designated it by the French word vitriol, which is a combination of the first letters of the sentence Vista Interia Terre Rectific. How do you say that word?
Rectificando Eniens Omnia
Lapidem, to indicate that in the interior of the earth is hidden the true mystery. The path that leads to this hidden world is the way of initiation.
This is where it gets into lots of details, like basically every
ancient.
Yeah, go on.
In ancient Greece, in the mysteries of Delphos and Ulysses, this heavenly land was referred to as Mount Olympus in the Elysian Fields. Also, in the earliest Vedic times, it was called by various names, such as Ratnasanu, Peak of the Precious Stone, Hermadri, Mountain of Gold, and Mount Meru, home of the gods of and Olympus of the Hindus. Symbolically, the peak of this sacred mountain is in the sky, its middle portion on the earth, and its base in the subterranean world. Scandinavian Eddas also mentioned this celestial city, which was in the subterranean land of Asar of the peoples of the Mesopotamia. It was the land of Amenti of the sacred book and the dead of the ancient Egyptians. It was the city of 7 petals of Vishnu and the city of 7 kings of Edom or Eden of Judaic tradition. In other words, it was the terrestrial paradise. In all of Asia Minor, not only in the past but also today, there exists a belief in the existence of a city of mystery full of marvels, which is known as Shambhala. Whereas the Temple of Gods is also Erdamp of the Tibetans and Mongols. The Persians call it Alberti or Ariana, land of their ancestors. The Hebrews called it Canaan, and the Mexicans Tula Atolan.
Canaan? The Canaanites. Interesting.
Yep. While the Aztecs called it Mayapan. The Spanish conquerors who came to America believed in the existence of such city and organized many expeditions to find it, calling it El Dorado or City of Gold. They probably learned about it from the Aborigines who called it by the name Mano, or city whose king wears clothing of gold. By the Celts, this holy land was known as Land of Mysteries, Duat or Donata.
The Duat, that's like an Osiris thing. The Duat.
Duat. Chinese tradition speaks of the land of Chivin, or the city of a dozen serpents. It is the subterranean world, which lies at the roots of heaven. It is the land of the Caucasus, Chalkis or Chalki, the famous Colchida for which our Argonauts sought when they set out in search of the Golden Fleece. And this was interesting. This last part, and we'll be done reading here in a second. Sorry, folks. But this was an important part of this whole thing. In the Middle Ages, it was referred to as the Isle of Avalon, where the Knights of the Round Table, under the leadership of King Arthur and under the guidance of the magician Merlin, went in search of the Holy Grail, symbol of obedience, justice, and immortality. When King Arthur was seriously wounded in a battle, he requested his companion Belvedere to depart on a boat to the confines of the earth with the following words: "Farewell, my friend and companion Belvedere, and to the land where it never rains, where there is no sickness, and where nobody dies." This is the land of immortality of Agharta, the subterranean world. Which sounds like heaven, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly,
Basically
right?
heaven.
This land is the Walhalla of the Germans, the Monte Salvat of the Knights of the Holy Grail, the Utopia of Thomas More, and the city of the Son of Campanella, the Shangri-La of Tibet, and the Agharta of the Buddhist world. I mean, that's a loaded topic, you know what I mean? It's not
every single ancient
yeah.
ancient society
Yeah.
has some reference to this land of mystery, or heaven, I guess you could call it.
Even down to the Scandinavians. In a previous episode, we talked about how they were awestruck at the Eskimos, or as they called them, Skraelings in Greenland. Because when they asked where they were from, they would just point north. And the Scandinavians and Icelanders were like, there's nothing north. But according to the Eskimos, that's where they came from. Where the fuck did you come? What are you talking about? North, unless it's like in the interior of the earth. Back to the pygmies. That still fascinates me, like the pygmies and their connection with the North Pole and Eskimos. And
it's fucking wild.
Yeah, and if there's no gravity in the center of the earth, because I had read in one of these sources, I think we talked about it last episode, when you go down in the tunnels, eventually you start to float and you have to hold on because the wind blows you. So there's no gravity, which I can understand. This, like, you know, the Gravitron ride?
Yeah.
So you get sucked to the wall on the outside, but if you walk to the middle, there's no force. So I'm thinking maybe some kind of similar dynamic is happening on the outside of the earth, where we're subject to it. And then when you go deep inside, in the center of the spinning, it's like, and you know, the magnetic core, and I don't know how to word it. I'm gonna blame it on the second dose of the vaccine messing my brain up, but I'm actually an idiot.
Crossing the blood-brain barrier right now.
Oh, there you go.
Like proteins are.
There you go.
I was looking at the Rancador Mountains in Brazil. Just kind of seeing, it does look pretty remote, but anyway, man, yeah. So the interesting stuff. Some of it I could not verify, but like you said, enough of these ancient societies had similar stories of such a place that it makes you think.
Yeah, it makes me think a lot. I mean, they all were telling the story. I think that means something. It's that simple for me. I mean, they all just got lucky.
Yeah, and it's something fucking strange happened back then with all these civilizations. I mean,
yeah.
Look at I talk about it a lot, but like Graham Hancock's work, and how he feels about these ancient civilizations, and
I love his work
upon them, and pieces it together very well.
We're going to be getting into Göbekli Tepe during this series. I have a pretty in-depth book that's going to be a big nugget to chew off, but we got to cover Göbekli Tepe because it's basically the cornerstone, in theory, the cornerstone of the transfer of knowledge from the higher ups to the civilians, the hunter-gatherers. Because mainstream science knows, they don't know what caused agriculture to come out of nowhere. Like they don't know where it came from. But this is it seems like when they look at the timeline of humanity, it seems like it was taught to us, because it just boom, out of nowhere we understand science and medicine. I don't think it's this gradual thing. But these are the article I had on those tunnels under Brazil, when you were talking about those big animals that would claw through the tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking the animals could go in the tunnels and claw, but just because there's claw marks doesn't mean they made them. But this is a scale of how big these motherfuckers were. You see that? Can you imagine coming across one of those, dude? Fuck. It disappeared. There we go.
Do we know those things existed, or are they just guessing based on these tunnels?
Man, I don't know. That's a good question. Giant sloths. paleo burrows were probably dug by the second largest prehistoric land mammal next to the mammoth, the giant sloth. So I guess it was a real thing. According to Frank, found his first tunnel in the early 2000s and learned that another scientist had coined the name paleo burrows for them. Frank and other researchers found over 1,500 tunnels in the state of Rio Grande do Sul alone, and hundreds more in Santa Catarina, with many stretching for hundreds of feet. The largest measured 2,000 feet long, 6 foot tall, and 5 feet wide. So, I mean, it would fit their size.
Yeah. And I guess, we're talking about underground cities and tunnels leading to hollow earth and shit. They would have to actually go, deeper. Like, we wouldn't be able to measure the length of them, right? Like,
yeah,
if it was anything related to that. So maybe it is right. Maybe it's just a giant armadillo or a sloth that dug that.
So I didn't have too much. I didn't have too much personally in the underground cities. I remember some interesting things.
Yeah, it was a more kind of rehash of what we talked about in the last article.
And also a lot of weirdness.
A lot of flying saucer stuff in this one.
Like, it told a story, but part of that story is important. So we'll read that, which will be the bulk of it. But the migration of the Atlantean god rulers to the subterranean world prior to the destruction of Atlantis was referred to in Teutonic mythology as the Götterdämmerung, or Twilight of Gods, which I found a lot of stuff on that, but it was like German interpretations from like the 1800s. It wasn't necessarily. I was confused. Yeah. Stuff. They made the journey in flying saucers, which are Atlantean aircraft.
Another claim that.
Yeah.
What the fuck? All right, all right. We'll take you on your word, Dr. R.W. Bernard.
Yeah. One of the early German settlers in Santa Catarina, Brazil, wrote and published the book in Old German dealing with the subterranean world. I guess that's why it's Old German. Deriving his information from the Indians. The book described the earth as being hollow with the sun in its center. Yeah, we said that already. So there's this story in here of a guy.
Yeah, this whole sun in the center thing, like, that's where it starts to kind of lose me.
Yeah. But it said this, with Mongolia, with its terrible mountains and limitless plateaus, was born a mystery which was preserved by the red and yellow lamas. The rulers of Lhasa and Orga, so they're called lamas, the Dalai Lamas.
Mm-hmm.
And this weird story says, "Stop," said my Mongol guide when we crossed the plateau of Sagan Luke. Stop. Basically, his camel bowed, and they took a sign from the camel that they were in some sacred area. So I'm wondering if that's where the lamas get their original name from, is their tendency to listen to literally the lamas they're writing about these energies. Because there's a weird connection. I mean, why are they called lamas? The rulers of... Mongolia, with its terrible mountains and limitless plateaus, was born a mystery which was preserved by the red and yellow lamas. The rulers of Lhasa and Orga guarded this science and possessed these mysteries. During my trip to Central Asia, I heard the first time this mystery of mysteries, to which I formerly paid no attention. There's like ancient Greek mysteries, like the mystery of Delphus and Eleusis, and we should get into some of that stuff because that is fascinating stuff too.
All right.
Because the Greeks had all this stuff too.
Yeah.
And the Rosicrucians were a society that tried to preserve that information, but they got demonized and I think corrupted, and they're kind of weird.
I was looking into them today.
Oh yeah, I'm confused on that. They have to do with like the Masons and shit. But only did later when I was able to analyze and compare certain testimonies frequently subjected to controversy. The old man on the border of a mill told me an old legend according to which a Mongolian tribe seeking to escape Genghis Khan hid in a subterranean land. Later, near Nogan Lake, I was shown by Soyota a door which served as the entrance to the kingdom of Agharta. It was through this door that a hunter entered into this region, and after he returned, told of his visit. The lamas cut off his tongue to prevent him from speaking about the mystery of mysteries. The Bible mentions mystery of mysteries and stuff like this. I guess it's biblical in a weird way. In his old age, he returned to the entrance of the cavern and disappeared in the subterranean world, which memory always brought emotion to the nomad.
And this story is coming from, Russian explorer Ferdinand Ozendalski. Right? Yeah.
He did what?
I want to let everyone know where, because I don't think you mentioned that, but like where these stories are coming from. This is from the travels of Ferdinand Ossendowski.
Ferdinand, he sounds legit. All the subterranean passages in the entire world lead to the world of Agharta. The Lamas say that all the subterranean cavities in America are inhabited by this people. The Lama named Turgut, who made the trip from Urga to Pekin with me, gave me further details. The capital of Agharta, Shambhala, is surrounded by villas where live the holy sages. It reminds one of Lhasa, which is the capital of Tibet, where the temple of the Dalai Lama rises on top of a mountain, surrounded by temples and monasteries. It says here they can dry the oceans, transform continents at the seas, and cause the disappearance of mountains. In strange vehicles unknown above, they travel at unbelievable speed through tunnels inside the earth.
The Lamas found vestiges of these men in all parts and inscriptions on rocks, and saw remains of the wheels of their vehicles. So that's not a flying saucer.
Yeah.
This might have come out before cars.
Yeah, definitely. There was not cars when he wrote this. There was like fucking dipping your ink pen and riding by candlelight.
Camel, yeah.
Did I just say camel? Candlelight.
Yeah, but like they were literally riding by camel in this area. When I asked him to tell me how many persons visited Agharta, the Lama answered, a great number, but most of those who were there maintained the secret as long as they live. When the Olets destroyed Lhasa, one of their regiments in the mountains of the southwest reached the limits of Agharta and were then instructed in mysterious sciences, for which reason the Olets and Talmuds became prophets. Certain black tribes of the east also entered Agharta and continued to live there for centuries. Later, they were expulsed from the subterranean world and returned to live on the surface of the earth, bringing with them knowledge of the mystery of prophecy by means of cards and reading the lines of the hand. They were the ancestors of the gypsies, which is maybe why they just roam and wander the world, because they were expulsed from their true home of the subterranean world. Anyway, it goes on. In certain regions in the North Asia, there exists a tribe which is on the verge of disappearing and which frequents the caverns of Agharta. Its members can invoke the spirits of dead which live in space. Wild. Is there any more to this story that you want to run through?
The next paragraph. The Lama remained silent some time and responded, in Agharta, the sages write on stone tablets all the sciences of our planet and of other worlds. The Chinese Buddhist sages know that well. Their science is the most advanced and purest. In each century, the sages of China united in a secret place near the sea and on the backs of 100 large turtles that come out of the ocean. They write the conclusions of the divine science of their century. Turtles get involved in this for some reason. They live like 3,000 years under the surface and they're sacred. So strange.
Yeah. But it's interesting, it's a way that they talk about preserving the knowledge of humanity.
That's all of my notes.
Yeah, I mean, then it goes on. It gives you the conclusion of the book after this story that the Russian explorer tells, which has some interesting excerpts from it for sure. So, they kind of talk about really two areas in the world, Tibet and Brazil, where you have the most prominent entrances to the subterranean earth. They did talk a little bit more about how, and we didn't really talk about this from the last article, but there are two areas of the hollow earth. There's like the crust, which is like an area of like honeycomb tunnels, basically, with smaller cities, and then you have the actual hollow interior of the earth. So it's kind of separated into two areas of the hollow earth. The conclusion is that from the evidence contained in this book, confirmed by many Arctic explorers whom we cite, they come to these conclusions. There's no north or south pole where they're supposed to exist. There are really wide openings to the hollow interior of the earth. Then he goes on to say, flying saucers come from the hollow interior of the Earth through these polar openings. The hollow interior of the Earth, warmed by its central sun, has an ideal subtropical climate of 76 degrees in temperature, neither too hot nor too cold. The Arctic explorers who traveled north, they just found more open seas. They found animals traveling north in winter seeking food and warmth where they should have gone south. Basically, they when trying to go to the poles, they ended up in the hollow Earth. There's a large population inhabiting the inner concave surface of Earth's crust, composing a civilization far in advance of our own in its scientific achievements, which probably descended from the sunken continents of Lemuria and Atlantis. Flying saucers are only one of their many achievements. It would be to our advantage to contact these elder brothers of the human race and learn from them and receive their advice and aid. The existence of polar openings and land beyond the poles is probably known to the U.S. Navy, in whose employ Admiral Byrd made his 2 historic flights, which is probably a top international secret. Then he goes on to talk about UFOs or flying saucers in ancient times. And I thought this was interesting. I'm not going to read all these, but he lists a bunch of examples of works from ancient writers that kind of reference UFOs, dating back to like BC 498. With Cicero, The Nature of the Gods, all the way, for like AD 217, where Dio Cassius wrote in Roman history. So, thought that was really interesting. All these ancient cultures have references to chariots in the sky and all these celestial beings visiting them from above. So,
yeah, who was the biblical character, the only guy he'd ever died? I think it was Methuselah. He was ushered up into heaven in a flaming chariot.
Yep.
Interesting. What do you think about it all? I think there are tunnels. I don't know if there's a race underground and all of that stuff, but I believe in tunnels, and I think if you go far enough, you'll reach some
wild shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to know more. I want to know more about the tunnels beneath Pyramids of Giza.
Yeah, there might really be tunnels connecting like the continents and shit.
And to push back on governments having these flying saucers, that one Commander Fravor, that popular one, Tic Tac or whatever, that Tic Tac went to his predestined location
right
before he went there. Like, it knew where he was going ahead of time. It was there. It just shot off, and then he went to his location and it was there again. Like, it knew where he was going. I don't know how governments could have like telepathic, clairvoyant stuff. Because a lot of
the devil's advocate with that, if it were a government technology, wouldn't they know where the point where they were going to recon would be at the end of that mission?
Yeah, if they hack their system.
Right. I mean, if it's the really government technology, the government would know, like...
Yeah.
I mean, the military exercise are going to be showing up at these points,
Yeah, that's true. Dude, that's still fucking fascinating.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the fact that they get a pyramid and a Tic Tac to fly at supersonic speeds with no explosion, that's amazing.
I mean, you go watch that UFO documentary on, I think it's on Showtime. I'll give you like my login so you can watch it.
Okay.
But
what's the name of it?
It's just called UFO.
Oh yeah, so dude, send me your login because I'm like trying to recover from the second shot and I feel like dog shit. I'm gonna go take a nap and watch that.
But yeah, I'm gonna send you my login. Also, I downloaded Destiny 2.
Yeah. All right.
That.
So what? You got the free version?
Yeah, I got the free version, but I'll get the whatever. It seems pretty cool so far.
Yeah. What's your light level?
I played for like maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Did you see if you were level 0 or 1100? Your character?
11, like when I look at it, it's like 11 something.
Okay, so it started you at 1100. So that's cool. Yeah, you don't have to do storylines. It'll unlock features in certain parts of the game, like If you don't have the story,
do you just battle the computer, or do you ever like do player versus player at any point?
player versus player. Whenever you go to the destination tab, and you hold the middle button, you go to destinations, and at the top, the planets, you'll see Crucible, Vanguard, Gambit, and something else. Crucible is matches where you play other people.
Is that what you and Steve-O do?
No, we do Vanguard Strikes, a playlist, so it just repeats these parts of the boss battles of levels from the campaign. You just play that. It's super fun, and you level up. But you can also hang out in the planets and do bounties and shit for the leader of the planet. But you can't get the bounties if you don't have the storyline unlocked.
Oh, I need to go finish doing all that then.
Yeah, there in the destination tab, there's also a timeline. It'll show you the order. They just added it, which is helpful. The order of the expansion packs. It starts with the Red War, and then Warmind, and then Curse of Osiris.
You have all the expansion packs?
I don't have them all. When I bought Destiny Forsaken 2, it came with Red War, Warmind, and Curse of Osiris.
All right.
So I had played that.
I figure out if I really dig it first, and if I really like it, I'll get the expansions. So
it's fucking. What character are you? Because the Warlock is the best. There's a double jump where he can fly. The Hunter, I had to stop playing with that motherfucker because he can't jump. White dudes can't jump. Titan? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I can double jump.
You probably can't fly as good as me, though.
Or not. So I need to change?
I mean, if you want to. Yeah, it's relative. You don't... you started with the Titan, so
it was like the first thing that was on there, so I just chose it.
Okay. Cool, man. Let's stream with Steve-O sometime.
Yeah.
Do something.
Be fun.
And shit. Any updates with your band?
No, none at all. I'm supposed to have a show on the 21st in Baton Rouge. I don't know if that's going to happen because Baton Rouge is fucking wrecked right now, as is New Orleans. They are wrecked. They're probably not going to have power for like a month.
They should have got the vaccine. Oh, you talking about the hurricane?
Yeah. Hurricane
Ida? Damn.
Hurricane annihilated them.
Not going to have power for months?
For a month, probably.
Damn. I mean, I guess if you have a generator, you could make it do. But damn, that's fucking harsh. Yeah. Yeah. Me and Joe decided we're going to release our live record that I was talking about. We're going to release it before the new record because no band does that. So this will be the first time in the history of music a band releases their new record as a live record. But it's not the full new record because you
didn't play the whole album. Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't playing like an album show. We just did all of our songs, which are mostly new ones, and a few of the ones from the previous record. So there's still not everything coming to you on this one, but that's going to be out on Yom Kippur, September 16th. It's uploaded and published today, made artwork, all that shit. So we got a live record coming to y'all. Yeah, it sounds awesome. The mix and all that shit from the guy came out really good, and then I mastered it. And it fucking jams.
Send it to me.
It jams. Oh, well. September 16th.
Fuck yeah. So September 16th.
Yeah.
And then... Yeah, and I'll let you know whenever we will be putting out a single soon and a new album. So I'll let you guys know what happens. But
I want that.
Just fucking waiting. Just waiting. It's all done.
Are y'all still mastering your music, or do they have people that you're sending it off to?
We did all that.
So they're like, hey, y'all shit sounds good. Just do whatever you want. Okay, cool, man.
We sent it to them like when we were shopping labels. We sent it wasn't the final mix, but it was pretty done.
Yeah.
We sent it over to them.
Cool, man. So, right on.
But yeah, man, go eat your food, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap, dude. I'm feeling. I got up and at it for the podcast. I had a couple moments where I was hot flashing, though. Not gonna lie, I was like, "Whew."
Let's call it a short one today. Let you get some rest, and we'll
right on.
We still got it done though. Look at that shit, bro.
We did, man. We fucking got in there and did it.
It's hard sometimes to squeeze this shit in, but I enjoy it. I want us to try and be as consistent as we can. So.
Yeah, and we have regular listeners, like the first 24 hours, 14 to 16 people. So whoever y'all are, much appreciated.
Fuck yeah,
much appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. Overtime in the long haul, I expect to learn more about this shit. This is just what I could find in this time frame.
Sure,
but
me too.
I plan to read the Buddhist, like the Egyptian Book of the Dead. You know what I mean? Eventually, but I couldn't cram it in this week.
Yeah, me either. And since we have regular listeners now, if you guys find cool shit, cool resources that we can dive deeper on this subject on Hollow Earth, we'd appreciate it. Send it over to us.
Send it over to us, definitely. Illuminati Squatty Potty at Gmail. And Illuminati Telly on Instagram and Twitter. Follow us. Get updates on episodes. Maybe I'll post a picture of my chihuahua.
Dylan tweet funny stuff.
Yeah. And then delete some tweets because I'm like, you know what? I don't really know this whole story, so I'm going to delete that. I probably should make a joke about, you know, a pregnant lady who died from getting the vaccine. I'm going to delete that one.
Definitely should.
I don't think I did that, but there's been a few where I'm like, I didn't read enough into this. Delete that. Pulling a Conor McGregor.
Yeah, let's not get ourselves canceled before a podcast blows up, Dylan. Come on, man.
Yeah, I like interpreting what politicians say in videos, like what they actually are saying. That's kind of what I do on Twitter.
You saw Biden falling asleep talking to the... Are
you serious? He's got a speech impediment, dude. Give him a break. He's got a speech impediment.
It looks like he's fucking passed out. But then, of course, like when you Google it, it's a bunch of articles saying no, Biden wasn't sleeping whenever he was talking to the leader of such and such country. He had a sharp response. That's such and such mark because he was clearly listening to him. It's like, okay. Well, he's sitting there with his head down like this for an awfully long fucking time. Like maybe he should have his head up looking at the guy talking to him.
Dude, Biden makes me laugh.
Looks like he's passed out, man.
He makes me laugh, dude. That dude makes me laugh.
Kind of funny.
Last thing, I'm going to send you this Twitter video I found. It's so funny. It's Biden. He's arguing with the reporter, and then somebody edits him playing the harmonica, the Titanic theme song. It's like 1 minute and 45 seconds of him like killing this harmonica solo at the podium, and he's like back and forth. It's hilarious, man. Check this out.
Send this shit to me.
I didn't expect. It's not like an insulting joke. It's just fucking funny.
Send it to me.
All right. Good episode,
all right, man.
bro.
Let's get on some Destiny later on. Later.
All right. Later, man.